All right, guys. I've totally been nerding and geeking out a little bit lately on just the whole beef situation and the big four. I told you I was going to do a bunch of research, so I've been kind of diving in a bunch. I knew a lot of this info, but I'm like kind of getting down into the nitty gritty of some of this stuff, and it's super interesting. But I just wanted to share something with you guys because I just find it interesting, and I want to know what you guys think, even though I'm only like just started with it. So I kind of started down the rabbit hole where I was going to maybe explain labels on grocery store beef a little bit. That kind of led me down, like first going like choice and prime and all that nonsense stuff. But I really wanted to get to like, can you know, like tell where your beef's actually coming from? 80 to 85% of the beef in the grocery stores coming from the big four: Tyson, JBS, Cargill, and National Beef. They control 80 to 85% of the market is funneled through them. So there should be a way on the label to tell where it's coming from. Even the beef I get like processed myself, even though it's at a small processor, if it's USDA, it's got an ESTA number. So I started to research a little bit more of like the ESDA numbers of the big four, where their plants are located, and I started plotting them. Basically, just a Google Doc at this point. Here, let me kind of turn it around and show you guys. So it's just a Google Doc here, and I've only done Tyson and JBS right now. But just basically plotted where their plants are located, where 80 to 85% of the grocery store beef is getting processed. And then I started looking up like EST numbers. So one of the ones I found was right here. So this is a Tyson plant in Walla Walla, Washington. EST number is 9268. So if you're at a grocery store, more likely in the Pacific Northwest, this whole Pacific Northwest thing's actually pretty interesting too. I got agri beef here. I'll dive into that and talk about that later. But if you're in the Pacific Northwest at a grocery store and you look at the EST number on where the beef's coming from, no matter what label it is, it's getting processed here at this Tyson plant. Well, then I started diving in. Before I even got done with all the plants, I started wondering, well, what could some of the beef that my family or anyone has sold gone in this direction? I'm like, well, where are the cow calf cattle going? I was like, well, I started with the biggest feeder that I know, which actually is the biggest feeder in the world. I think is Five Rivers cattle, which used to be owned by JBS. I believe it sold in 2018. So I started plotting Five Rivers. Actually, Five Rivers, like, their website's great. They're very explanatory and very open, and they have a map of their own that tells you exactly where all their feeders are, and you can link to all their feeders. It's actually pretty informative. I was actually pretty impressed with that. But you can see, it used to be owned by JBS. You can't see the Five Rivers very much, but these are all Five River feed yards. And then there's the JBS plant. So basically, if you get a JBS number, I don't have the JBS number for that one yet, but if it gets linked back to this JBS plant, more than likely it's coming from one of these 5 feeders, which led me down some interesting roads because 30% of all the feeder cattle in the U.S. are coming from only 10 different companies. So I started diving into that here. So I got a cactus one, which then I started making a spreadsheet. And so here we got cactus feeders, which I think is the second biggest. And they're normally contracted out with, where did I put that? I believe they're more with Tyson, which makes sense because they're cactus here, and I think they feed these 2 Tyson plants here, so, or help feed them. Anyways, sorry. I was just kind of geeking out on the map, making like maybe you can go to the grocery store, look at the EST number, and almost actually pinpoint which plant it's coming from, and honestly, you could probably pinpoint which feeder is coming from, or pretty close to it. I don't know. What do you guys think?